minutes to kickoff. Gonna get your bets in.
This year, more than $10 billion was bet illegally on the Super Bowl, most of it going to organized crime.
Yeah, the neighborhood's basically the same.
It's an underground world well known to John Elite, a former Gambino mobster who ran betting rings in New York and New Jersey.
I was working and taking orders as far as who to hurt, who to kill, who to put in the hospital.
What types of people were betting with you?
Detectives, police officers, businessmen, Wall Street guys, store owners, school teachers.
Now, Governor Chris Christie wants to legalize sports betting so he can take money away from organized crime and invest it in New Jersey.
What's wrong with it? The governor wants a piece of the pie.
More than $10 billion was bet illegally on the Super Bowl this year, most of it going to organized crime. Sports betting has always been a significant source of income for the mob. Just ask John Elite. Elite was part of the Gambino crime family and a big earner for them in New York and New Jersey. He's never told his story before, but he will now. Elite's interview comes at a time when New Jersey Governor Chris Christie wants to legalize sports betting in his state so he can take money away from organized crime and invest it in the state. There's a lot of money at stake. Nationally, about $400 billion a year is spent on the illegal sports betting business, one that John Elite knows very well.
I was good at it, and I became very good at it, and I became a professor of bookmaking.
Was there ever a year as a bookmaker where you lost money?
Never. 22 years, never lost a dime.
At your peak, running your shop in New Jersey, how much money was flowing through your operation?
Yeah, I'll give you an example. One weekend, I lost $325,000, just for a weekend. And, you know, I had no panic in me at all because, like I told you, I know I'm getting it back.
You wouldn't place bets? You're not a gambler?
I know you can't win. I want to win. At the end of the day, I want to put the money in my pocket. I said, so that's what I did. I became the house. House doesn't lose.
John Elite isn't just another bookie. He was a top operative in one of New York's reigning crime families, the Gambino family, run at the time by John Gotti Sr.
I was working and taking orders as far as who to hurt, who to kill, who to put in the hospital. When the senior called you somewhere and told you to go take care of this, you didn't have excuses. You took care of it.
You never asked any questions? You never said to him, why do you want me to do this?
No, I looked up to the life. I looked up to the mob.
Do you remember the first murder you committed?
Yeah.
What did you think when you were first told that you were now being ordered to kill somebody?
I wanted the order.
Why?
I wanted to be completely in and trusted and believed that he liked me that much, that he trusted me to do anything for him.
His connection to the mob, to boss John Gotti Sr. and his son, John Gotti Jr. especially, was tight. Gotti Jr. was best man at Elite's wedding. It was that connection, years later in 2009, that made him the government's star witness against Gotti Jr. in a wide-ranging murder, gambling, and racketeering trial, which ended in a hung jury. Elite, who had made a deal with the government in exchange for his testimony, served 8 years in prison on racketeering charges that included running a sports betting business. He was released almost 2 years ago and agreed to give his first interview to 60 Minutes Sports about how his sports betting operation worked.
To us, this is the least of doing anything wrong, is taking action. You look at it as if you're going to get arrested for sports betting, they're going to laugh at it if you get arrested and maybe get a ticket. The other stuff, you're going to prison for.
So your sports betting for you was your safe criminal activity?
Yeah, I didn't look at it as criminal activity. I looked at it as a safe legal business where I would take my criminal activity money and use it to back my sports business.
What types of people were betting with you?
Detectives, police officers, businessmen, Wall Street guys, store owners, school teachers.
You had people who were active law enforcement people actually on the job who were betting with you at the time?
Betting with us and also ran their own bookmaking businesses and would call their action into us.
So you look at sports betting as if everybody's doing it and it's everywhere?
100%. 100%.
Elite learned the bookmaking trade as a boy from his family and friends in a neighborhood where sports gambling was part of the culture.
Yeah, the neighborhood's basically the same.
He took us back to the streets where he grew up in Woodhaven, Queens, New York.
My local haircutter, he's a bookmaker. The local bar, he's a bookmaker. My delicatessen I work at, nice guy, retired sanitation guy, he's involved in bookmaking. I was born in this house. We lived in the middle floor, my family, 4 kids. Downstairs was my other uncle with his wife and my grandmother and grandfather. My cousins lived next door, my other cousins lived across the street.
Did your family know what you were doing?
They were all involved. They were all gamblers, and they taught me the business.
In 1983, Elite, at age 20, had gone well beyond gambling and started a much bigger criminal enterprise. He had formed his own crew, dealing drugs and hijacking trucks coming out of Kennedy Airport. Was there ever a time when you, as a young guy, as a teenager, when you said to yourself, you know what, man, I'm on the wrong path?
No, actually the opposite. I looked at myself as a successful businessman. A guy that was established in the area, was making money, buying real estate, and helping people when they had a problem.
He helped sort out those problems at this place, Nears, the neighborhood tavern where he conducted his sports betting business. Here, he would grab a beer and head to his table in the back to settle up bets.
I'd have a couple of guys with me, and I'd bring money to pay some of the customers that won, which is usually very few. And the rest would come here to see me and pay me.
All of this is taking place right here. Anybody can see it.
Sure, there's a bar full of people.
Everybody knew what you were doing.
Everybody.
Elite's success led him to expand his betting operation to New Jersey, where he knew there was a big sports betting market. That market is what motivates New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, who wants to legalize sports betting in his state. He said in a press conference, quote, "It's every town in this state has people betting on all the major sports, except now it's being done by criminals. What we'd like to do is to bring it out in the open and have the citizens of the state benefit from it." Governor Christie declined to be interviewed for this story. Today, the only state that allows unlimited sports betting is Nevada, where about $3.6 billion was spent on sports betting last year. Of that, the largest portion, at 45%, was wagered on football, 29% basketball, and 19% on baseball.
There are guys that are just straight bookmakers. They never bet, and they're successful, and they're always under the radar, and they're never getting caught. It's the guys like me that get caught because you're either involved with the mob, if there is a mob, I'm not saying there is, or you're involved with some high-profile guys, and you wind up getting caught anyway.
Former New Jersey bookie Angelo Lutz, known on the street as Fat Ange, was convicted of racketeering, gambling, and extortion charges and sentenced to 9 years in prison. At trial, he was described by the judge as the Secretary of the Treasury in a bookmaking scheme that generated hundreds of thousands of dollars for the Philadelphia mob.
The judge said at my racketeering trial that I was the only guy that could do the math, and I got more time for that.
Back in your bookmaker days, what was your single busiest day?
Sunday.
Why?
Everybody bets football. Everybody.
Take me through what your average Sunday would be like.
Well, first of all, you'd get into the office about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, the office. It's usually an apartment you rented somewhere, or my bedroom. We called it the office. You could always tell a gambler because he's betting 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, wake up on Sunday. And then loved it when they brought the 8 o'clock game on Sunday because now you didn't have to stop betting at 4. They opened up the phones again at 7 o'clock to bet the 8 o'clock game. You're always betting to get out. There's gamblers and then there's bettors. Let's put it that way.
What's the difference?
A bettor has a better chance of winning because he has no addiction. A gambler is just going to keep gambling. He just doesn't care.
Which were you?
I was a gambler. I was such a degenerate gambler. I bet the scab games when the NFL went on strike. We didn't even know who was playing. Joe Slunk the midget was quarterbacking against some other guy you didn't know, and I'm betting on the game.
Are you losing more as a gambler than you're making as a bookmaker?
Absolutely.
Then why do you stay
Because you're
gambling?
nuts, you're crazy, you're caught in the compulsion. It's the action. It's lunacy. It is what it is. People love the action.
What do you think about the idea of the state of New Jersey legalizing sports betting?
What's wrong with it? The governor wants a piece of the pie.
But the odds may be stacked against Governor Christie. He's facing a 1992 federal law that bans sports betting, and the Justice Department has joined the 4 major sports leagues and the NCAA in a lawsuit to stop him. They argue that legalizing sports gambling would corrupt sports and hurt its public image by promoting suspicion of game fixing. Neither representatives of the state nor of the sports leagues would talk to us, citing the ongoing litigation. If Governor Christie wins in New Jersey, the British betting company William Hill will be part of it. They're already investing in the state even before the court case is resolved. Why? Because they know just how profitable betting operations can be. They have thousands of betting shops throughout the United Kingdom, where gambling on sports is a long-standing tradition.
Famously, members of the royal family have bet over the years and still continue to bet. And then you might have guys, taxi drivers, builders, people what we would traditionally term as working class that come in and like to bet. There's no great divide as far as betting is concerned. Everyone likes to bet.
So sports betting here is completely legal and completely out in the open.
Completely legal and completely out in the open. It's part of normal life here.
William Hill's Kate Miller says they operate 700 outlets in London alone and occupy some of the city's finest real estate. Comparing it to the United States, there we describe them as wire rooms or books.
Okay.
And here they're called shops.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, you go in and you buy something, a bet, and then you leave with hopefully a slip or a winning slip and a bit more money in your pocket, potentially. So you go shopping, you just go shopping for a bet.
Here, William Hill betting shops can be found right next to fast food restaurants.
Cheers. Thank you.
They're a place to stop in during the course of the day to place a bet on a soccer match or a horse race. In 2012, William Hill set up shop in Las Vegas.
We have about less than 10 minutes to kick off. Come get your bets in.
Where people can bet on football or any sport. Now, the company has secured a contract giving them the exclusive sports betting rights at New Jersey's Monmouth Park racetrack.
It's going to be set up similar to...
Joe Asher, CEO of William Hill US, has already begun construction of an American-style sports betting bar.
To think about what this place would be like on Super Bowl Sunday. I mean, traffic would be backed up for miles to get into the place. The place would just be mobbed.
And Asher is betting that the right mob would show up. So William Hill could benefit from the billions of dollars wagered illegally on the Super Bowl every year. For now, the only legal sports betting here is on the horses. A number of the professional sports leagues, the NCAA, have challenged New Jersey on this whole idea of legalizing sports betting. One of their arguments is that if you legalize sports betting, it's going to corrupt in some way, shape, or form the games.
If it's legal and if it was regulated, ultimately you'd have cooperation pretty early on. If there was something amiss in a game, if there was any sort of suspicious betting activity, we'd be the first people to pick up the phone and call the league or call the FBI or the Gaming Control Board, because it's our money that they're going to try to take. Do you want people who are heavily regulated, licensed, reputable business people, or do you want criminals involved in policing the integrity of the game?
If it becomes legal, Governor Christie has said there would be strict state oversight, much like the way it works at Atlantic City casinos today.
Just tonight?
Yeah.
But Angelo Lutz, now a legitimate businessman and restaurateur, says if New Jersey wins, it still won't have much of an impact on organized crime's overall share of the industry. He says gambling will always be driven by the customer.
Because the guy that has no money in his pocket that's betting on the come is still going to call the local bookmaker to bet. Because he could bet with no money.
But won't the illegal bookmakers lose some of their business? Aren't some of the guys going to say, you know what, I could bet with Fat Ange, or I could take my wife, my girlfriend, and go to one of these parlors and sit down and have dinner and have a drink and watch some games, and I can make some bets while I'm doing it. Won't you lose that guy?
Yeah, who cares? Because he's a casual bettor. You want degenerate gamblers to bet with you. You're not looking for John and Nancy Adams to walk in and order champagne cocktails and pomegranate martinis. That ain't what you do. That ain't your weed. That ain't where you draw your money from.
After 2 decades with the mob, John Elite says he's given up bookmaking, and now he supports efforts to legalize sports gambling.
If that can help people in the community for their taxes, roads, the infrastructure of whatever goes on in Jersey, why not? Gambling's going on anyway. No one's ever going to stop it.
You made a good living for a lot of years running an illegal gambling operation. Why then would you say, I'm okay with letting the state of New Jersey take over my illegal gambling operation?
Because they won't take it over. They won't even put a dent in it. It's just one more bookmaker coming to town. They're just getting a piece of the pie, yeah. New guy in town.